Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Daily Downshift. My name's Nestor and today we're doing a video that I've wanted to do for quite some time, and that is the 1-year owner's review of the 2023 BMW M2. Now this is a car that honestly I have really enjoyed my time with. 1 year has really flown by. I got this car mid-April and it's the beginning of May now, so it's been a little over a year actually. I've been wanting to make this video for the past couple weeks, but I've been quite busy and the weather's been kind of iffy too. There's been a lot of rain, but today's nice and sunny, so we're gonna try doing the video all in one day today. I really enjoy the car. There's still things about it that I'm trying to learn and understand, and of course, you know, there are significantly more pros to this car than there are cons, but there are a couple of cons that I think are going to be a little surprising that you guys maybe wouldn't have guessed, I guess you could say. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go for a drive. Smash the like button on this video and let's get right into it. The car has been overall just a joy to learn. The manual transmission has been also a joy to learn because for those that don't know, this is actually my first manual car ever. And for those that don't know, the cars that I've had previous to this, I had a 2016 F87 M2. Then I had the 2020 Corvette C8. Then I went back to another M2. This time it was a 2017. Then I upgraded that, traded it in for an M2 competition. So as you can probably tell, I love M2s. That was super interesting because I got to experience the N55 engine and then the S55 engine. And then from there, I went into this car, which of course utilizes the S58. Now, even though I haven't driven any other manual, so I can't really compare, the one thing I will say is that obviously it has a very long throw, which I don't particularly enjoy, especially on track when you want to shift very quickly. It is really annoying because you almost have to be on the clutch for a little bit longer than you want to be, right? Especially if you're doing something like second to third or like fifth to fourth. I feel like you got to be on the clutch for like a solid quarter second. So moving on to the actual engine, the power of the car, fantastic. I mean, it's so much faster than the C8, the M2, the S55 M2. It's significantly faster. You notice it right away, even in the manual. You don't need an automatic to be able to notice that. Now, the one thing I will say is that obviously you do need to be in the correct gear to really extract that power, but this is probably something that applies to every manual transmission out there. Obviously, if you're not in the right gear, you're not in that, you know, sweet spot for the power band, you're not really going to get all the juice that you want out of the engine. One thing I do know, and I've heard recently, is that the 2025 model M2 is actually going to be getting a power bump, and in addition to that 20 horsepower power bump, whether that's real or not, if it's just like a on paper thing, it's getting 50 extra pound-feet of torque. Now that's only applying to the automatic transmission, which, you know, definitely kind of sucks. Manual transmissions are not getting that, but apparently that's not happening because the manual transmission or the clutch, whatever, just can't handle the extra torque reliably. I think this makes plenty of power and torque, especially when you consider the fact that this is a rear-wheel drive car, right? Like, anytime you want this car to step out, just go into MDM mode. The car is going to lose traction, so there's plenty of fun to be had. You don't need any more power in this platform, although obviously more power never hurts.
100.
That's that's my next point about this car. It is a great platform if you don't want to keep it stock. In fact, I would say out of all the cars that I have owned so far, this car has the most potential to be modded. N55, you couldn't really get that much power out of it. With the S55, you could get a decent amount of power out of it. I think you could probably gain like 120 horse, but at the same time, you did have to worry about the crank hub, and a lot of people's crank hubs were going. I've met a lot of people that have actually spun their crank hubs. And then of course, on the C8 that I have, it was a naturally aspirated V8, so you really couldn't do much apart from like, I don't know, headers and taking out the cats and putting downpipes into it. So in addition to the power potential of this car, we also have to talk about something that I think more people are going to lean into, and that is modding the way this car looks. For the first time in a while, I would say that this car, the first time that it's kind of lacking an identity. You know, they got rid of the kidney grills that we've had on, you know, the F-Series and previous gens for so long in terms of like the vertical slats. And they also got rid of the angel eyes. Super bold on BMW's part. Obviously, those are two things that have been staples in the BMW world for a long time. And so getting rid of that was a bold change, and it actually is a benefit, I would say, because it allows you to really modify this car in a way that you couldn't on previous models. Just to give you an example, there's 6 different grille options for the G87, and this car's only been out for a year. When I was looking at the F87 M2, there were no grill options. Everyone kept the vertical grills because it's like, why would you go away from BMW's formula? And so you could only really upgrade to carbon fiber instead of the stock plastic. Whereas on this car, people are doing crazy redesigns. All of them look good in their own way. So you have the ability with this car to really make it your own and add its own character and kind of looks to it, which I don't think you could do as easily to previous gen, you know, M3, M4, M2s, which is pretty awesome. I think that this car, out of most cars, is basically begging to be modded. If I kept this car completely stock from factory when I bought it last April, I don't think I'd be happy with it. And that's not to say that it's a bad car, a bad package. It's great, but like, for example, they included cast wheels from factory with this car, and that just contributes to the overall bloatiness and the heaviness of the car. If you can save like 25 pounds with forged wheels, and that's unsprung weight, by the way, which matters a lot more than regular weight, that's a no-brainer, and you have to do it because it's going to make the car look better, and you're going to be making the handling characteristics way better. Stuff like that on this car is an absolute necessity. If I kept it stock, I'd probably be pretty bored with it. And to kind of give you guys proof of that, all the cars that I've had, I've only really kept for about a year, no more than that. And that's mostly because I kind of did everything there was to do with the cars, and I kind of felt like there wasn't really a vision or anything I could do to make it better or more fun. This car, on the other hand, I'm not even close. It's not like I'm driving this car every day and I'm like, man, I really need to upgrade the engine because the power's lacking. It's there. So let's say in like 2 years from now, if I got bored of the power, then I could start diving into the engine mods, which would just unlock this thing and make it so rowdy. So I guess my whole conclusion about the whole modability of this car is that if you own it right now, or if you're looking to buy it, you should probably modify it. This is one of those cars where it's like, it's just so rewarding to modify. And if you keep it stock, you might get bored of it. We got a nice little stray here. Don't mind if I do. I hope you guys can hear that intake just going pew every time I let off of it, and then the exhaust burbles too. It's just, it's so beautiful, man, so beautiful. All right, let's talk about the daily drivability of this car. How easy is it to live with? Couple pros, couple cons. Number one, you can totally daily drive this thing in practically any weather. Now let me preface that by saying I am lowered, and in addition to that, I have a front lip that obviously adds to how low the front end of this car gets. And then on top of that, I did winter drive this car. But overall, like, if you have to do it in a pinch, you absolutely can winter this car. The big thing I would just suggest is maybe raise the height of your suspension for winter. Ridiculously fun. Now, just to finish off the daily drivability and you know, how easy this car is to maintain and stuff like that. The first con that I want to talk about is actually the brake dust. Oh my God, guys. If you've never had a BMW M car, then you're not prepared for this. There is a ridiculous amount of brake dust that you get after just a day, 1-2 days of driving. It is really, really bad. Now, it doesn't help that I have silver wheels, but even if you have the black wheels, the OEM ones, it's still pretty darn bad. Now, you can fix that by going for brake pads that, you know, don't have as much brake dust and still have about the same amount of performance, but those do cost quite a lot, and you don't have more than like 2 or 3 options. One other thing that absolutely sucks is the front of this car has the bottom bumper in a plastic. It's a gloss black plastic, and that thing gets so scratched up, it's ridiculous. Like, mine looks horrible, and it's only been a year, to the point where, honestly, if I were to keep this car for multiple years, I would probably have to replace that plastic because it just looks horrible. I'll show you guys right now on screen how bad it is. I'm talking about deep scratches because it's a gloss black and it's on the bottom of the front of the car, so it's gonna get hit by absolutely everything. Highly recommend that you PPF the whole front end, and I would probably say, you know, make sure to include all of those plastic pieces because they get smoked. And finally, the last kind of con that I have in regards to this car is just how fast you go through the fuel. Now, this might not be that big of a deal to most people, and honestly, it's not really a huge deal to me either. I'm only mentioning it because you guys probably want to know of all the cons that I can think of now that I've driven this car for so long, and that is definitely one of the cons. You are going to be filling up and constantly at the gas station, especially if you are driving in a spirited manner. But I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about the car and my experience with it. Of course, feel free to comment if you have any questions or clarifications for anything I talked about in this video. And of course, I do have much more content coming on this car, guys. I'm super excited because this next week we have 3 new packages coming in, all of which are modifications to the car, and one of them is probably, I don't want to say the biggest modifications, but definitely one of the biggest modifications that we've made thus far. So stay tuned for that, guys. I am very much excited, and I hope you guys are as well. So with that said, guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.